All right. So essentially, the video we just watched is the project that we're doing, and I wanted to point out some things that I thought was pretty cool about what they were talking about. If you all heard that they had a microphone that specifically can record sounds underwater, and let alone to just think about the type of noise pollution that we create getting in water, uh, and boats that have motors, or even if we're using paddle boats, like just thinking about how does that affect the animals that live in the water under there. So it's just an interesting concept that maybe some people haven't thought about. But going back through these careers up in here on this list, you had the sound design. Sound design can go in a lot of different directions, but in soundscapes, you can create an artificial soundscape through sound design. So essentially, mimicking what this ecologist class was doing, where they went out and recorded sounds. A sound designer would probably be mimicking that, or even using live sounds to create their own one. And film scoring the same way. If you've all seen movies like the Avatar, things like that, that where the environment is a totally different world, they have to create a brand new sound in there for that as well. So, do I have any questions? Any questions so far on what we've talked about with soundscapes? You can put it in the chat, or you can just speak up through the mic. All right. So if we don't have any questions, I'm gonna get into this is what the project that we're doing for this week is the project we're getting into. So we're going to make our own soundscape, and this is going to be analyzing the soundscape of within our home or around our home. You're going to be able to choose. So the first thing to do is to pick a location to record, and make sure you document where you put your device. And you're going to record in that spot for at least 5 minutes, but no more than 15 minutes max. So 5 to 10 minutes is a good range for this project, because you're going to upload this into BandLab, and BandLab only has a 15-minute maximum time limit on it. But in this picture on the right, in this slide, you can see this picture where this is my phone. I actually recorded that, the sound outside of on my balcony in my apartment. All I did was just open the door, and I put my phone record on. I sat it right inside the door, and it was raining outside, as well as I knew I was going to capture everything that walked past that door, so everything outside. So if a car drove by, or if people were leaving to go get in their car, or walking their dog, all of those sounds I knew were going to get captured in there into that sound. So this is where I placed my phone to just record on its own. So if you didn't hear the guy mentioned in the video, you can use your voice memo app if you have an iPhone. And I think all phones actually have some type of recording device built into it anyway. But if you don't know where to find that, or if you need help, for iPhones, you can download voice memos, which is actually probably already on your phone. You shouldn't have to download it; should already be downloaded. If you don't have an iPhone, you can download a Voice Recorder Pro. This is also on iPhone if you want to use it for iPhone as well. But both of these applications are free and they're easy to use. You can easily download it and begin recording sounds as soon as you download it. So use either one of those for your project. And if you want to, you can, if you have the setup and have a microphone, or want to use your computer, you can do the same thing there. But it's probably a little bit easier with a handheld device, because you can put it in areas that a computer or a microphone might be difficult for those things to reach. So places to record. I've listed a couple of different places that I think would be cool places to try to figure out what the soundscapes would be like. Maybe your bathroom, your backyard, a kitchen, maybe what's right outside your front door. So if maybe you set a recorder right outside your front door and tracked the sounds that happen for 10 to 15 minutes, a window, maybe in the side or the front of your house or apartment. Maybe inside your car on a drive. Maybe you're going somewhere like to the store or going out of town, and You just record 10 to 15 minutes in the car, your front porch, yard, a bedroom, a specific bedroom, a street intersection. Like maybe you live near a corner where there's a lot of intersection or a lot of people walk, and you just go sit on that corner and aim your device at the corner and collect the sounds of that intersection. Maybe there's a neighborhood park or a park that's in your apartment complex, laundry room, or while you're walking in Walmart, like I'm walking in a store, you could just record 5 to 10 minutes of all the sounds that you encounter during that. But I want you to take a minute. I've got a timer up here, so you can watch this timer. I want you to write in the chat, yeah, write all your answers in the chat. What are some locations that you can record sounds that I didn't list here? So you got 1 minute beginning now to write in the chat your answers. Yeah, we're thinking of some locations that would have some unique sounds, something that would have sound marks that wouldn't be found anywhere else. What would where could I find sounds that, I would only hear this here and maybe not anywhere else? Good. We got some answers coming in. Okay. We got underwater. Yep. Well, what about you? I think you would have to have a special microphone to record underwater, Andrew. So where could you record saying if you didn't have that microphone, that special microphone to record underwater? So for your project, where could you record? All right, timer has gone down. Do I have any other answers? Any other thoughts? Zion, did you have an answer? I think we may have lost Naomi. Zion, are you there? Oh, no answer. Okie dokie then. All right. So once you've done your recording, you're going to upload your recording into BandLab. And again, I want to reiterate, it's got a 15-minute limit. So make sure you don't record over 15 minutes. And when you go in there, this is the first thing that you see when you open a new project. So when you go in there, you're going to click the button right here on the left, import audio, and then you'll go select your file. So if you record on a device like your iPhone or something, it ought to be very simple to email it to yourself and then go into your email and download it to the computer. Then you can upload from your computer into BandLab. So I said it again, it shouldn't be too hard, but you could just go into the phone or your device, whatever you recorded on, or if you have a handheld device, you hook it up to your computer and download it that way onto the computer. But just click that share button. You can email it to yourself, download it from your email, and then import and upload the audio into BandLab. Okay. And once it's in BandLab, that's all you have to do. We're gonna actually find a quiet place to listen to your recording. So this is really important that if you have headphones, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to grab some headphones and find a quiet place to listen to your recording. Excuse me. So and the reason why you want to find a quiet place is because you don't want to confuse sounds from around you, from where you're sitting, with what you're listening to. You want to be able to make sure that you are listening to just what's on your recording. While you're listening to your recording, you're going to write down all of the sounds what you hear. Even if you don't know what it is, describe what you hear. Like, describe it the best you can. Write what you think it is. I think it's a person riding on a bike, riding past the microphone. So sound like that. It sounds like the spokes on a bike, going up and down as the person is riding down the sidewalk. Just describe it the best you can. And you want to fill up that page as much as you can, because the more that you can describe individual sounds that you hear, the better the outcome. And you want to make sure that you listen high. So there are going to be sounds that are high in frequency sounds. So probably like the wind, maybe even cricket sounds. Then there's going to be the things that are in the middle, which are probably like human voices, maybe even birds chirping. And then you'll have things that are in your lower frequencies, which is cars driving by, maybe a dog barking. Or if you were in a bigger city, that could also be like the subway or a train rolling by. That'd be your lower frequencies of what you hear. So make sure you listen in through everything that you can hear within those your recording, and listen more than once, because when you listen through the first time, you're going to hear one thing. When you listen through the second, third, and fourth time through your recording, you're going to hear different things because your ears are going to adjust to what you're listening to. So uh, take the time and think about and listen to what you hear on your recording, because you'll probably be surprised at what you find. So after you've gotten your recording, you listened through it a couple times, you've written down all the sounds you could possibly hear in it. So then you want to review your list and ask yourself these three questions. Okay. Number one, do any of these sounds connect me to a memory or a feeling? Like when you heard the sound, did it make you think of something? Did it make you remember something? Sometimes we can hear, I mean, I'm actually sure everybody can attest to this. You've heard a song and you know immediately in the first 20 seconds whether you've heard that song before or not, because you're familiar with that sound. And with some songs, your memory is so strong that you can hear the first 5 seconds of the song and you already know when you first heard that song. Like I remember I was with my homies and we were chilling in the living room, and that was when I first heard that song. Or I remember I was at a Chili's restaurant and my sister was playing that song for me on the phone, and that's when I first fell in love with it. Or whatever the memory is or whatever the feeling is, it could just be a feeling of happiness that I know when I hear this type of clock ticking in the background. It reminds me of my grandmother's clock that used to sit on her wall, and it makes me think of my grandmother. So when I hear this clock ticking, it brings a certain feeling out for me. So any of your sounds, do that and go through any of your sounds and see if you can find any sounds that connected you with anything. And then two and three are pretty much the same questions, just flip flop. Which of these sounds am I familiar with, and which of these sounds am I unfamiliar with? And you want to write all of these answers down on that same sheet of paper. And this is important to know, especially, because you're learning about yourself in this moment, even aside from what career possibilities this could lead to, or what music production projects could come from this. But you're going to learn a lot about yourself, because if you record sounds that are around your home, these are the sounds that your brain is constantly recording all the time, which means they influence you. And believe it or not, these are actually the sounds that influence how you pick songs, how you pick music, or how you pick movies or things that you hear out in media, that how you shape those type of favorite picks that you are thinking about, because of the sounds that you hear on a regular basis, because we often pick things that are familiar to us. So when to give you a good example of this, so certain sounds are more particular to certain locations or certain areas. So going back to New York City, if I lived and grew up in New York City, a sound that I would hear very often would probably be a subway. I probably have either ridden on the subway a lot, or I live somewhere where when the subway goes by, I feel it and I hear it. But somebody like us who lives in North Carolina, where the closest subway is not for another 800 miles, where that is not a sound that influences us here. But sound like crickets chirping at night is something that we probably hear quite often in almost anywhere you go in North Carolina. So in New York City, if I lived where trains are, when night hits, it's probably way too much sound going on for me to even hear a cricket chirping. If I lived in downtown New York City, that it's not going to be the same as if I lived out here in the suburbs in North Carolina, or somewhere, or a more urban area, a more rural area in North Carolina. So what you hear more often in your home area and the areas that you are constantly in and out of every day, these sounds do affect you, and these sounds do influence you, and they influence on what you find familiar and what you are attracted to. So within this project, you're not going to be just learning about soundscapes or what can be found within a soundscape, but you're going to be learning a lot about yourself, and maybe even discover why you like certain types of music, or why you like a specific artist, or things like that. So make sure you try to get as much on that piece of paper as you can in terms of the sounds that you write down and the answering the questions at the end. So write all your answers down and then bring your observations to class. Okay, we're going to discuss and share ideas on where people recorded, like maybe somebody found a unique place to go record, and what did you hear. I also do want to hear a couple of clips of some people's sounds. So when you upload it into BandLab, that's important, so that'll make it easy for you to share when we come back to class on Thursday. Okay, I also want to hear what connections you made. I want to hear, did you hear a sound? Did you make any connections to any of the sounds? I want to hear what sounds were familiar to you, what sounds were unfamiliar. So just to review, you're going to record 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to listen, you're going to upload to BandLab. You're going to listen to your recording. You're going to write down all the sounds. Then you're going to write down what's familiar, what's not familiar, what you feel attached to. And then you're going to bring that to class on Thursday. So with all of that, do I have any questions about the project that we're doing for this week? Got a question. No questions. Okay. So now, how well were you paying attention? So got 3 exit questions. And once we get through our exit questions, our class will be pretty much done for today. So how well were you paying attention? Number 1, what is a soundscape? You can either type your answer into the chat or you can unmute and answer. Got 30 seconds. What is a soundscape? Give me your best answer. And I'd like an answer from everybody. So Zioni and Andrew, please answer. Okay, good. We got an answer from Andrew. The natural sound and area. Okay, I'll accept that. It can be synthetic sound, just so you know, Andrew. So it can be naturally made and organically made. But when I was just differentiating earlier that within the soundscape, when you're recording, we're recording natural sounds, but it can be a synthetic environment too, where you create a soundscape that is created out of synthetic sound. So environmental sound, yes, that is a pretty close answer, Zioni. You might want to go in a little more detail because environmental sound can be a little bit vague. So you want to be sure that it's an environmental sound. It's a collection of environmental sounds. So not just one sound, but it's the collection of all of them that make it a soundscape. So good. Thank you for your answers. Number 2, who popularized the word soundscape? This was one of the first things we covered when the lesson started. Who popularized the word soundscape? He is a composer. Anybody remember his name? Do you at least remember the letter of his first name? Because he didn't give his first name, it's just the letter of his first name. Anybody remember what letter? Not M. It wasn't M. But I'll give you M. M is his last name. I'm sorry, M is his middle name, and S is his last name. So I'll give it to you. His name was R. Murray Schaefer. So I'm gonna type that in there, Murray. And so I told you I memorized this. I just remember Murray's hair cream and Schaefer sounded like shaving to me. So Murray Schaefer, R. Murray Schaefer. Okay. So, and I want to clarify, he's the one who popularized the term soundscape. So he's not the one who defined soundscape and gave it its definition. He's just the one who, after he started using it, everybody else started describing this phenomenon as soundscape. Okay. And our last question, name one career, and for each one of you, name one career that uses or creates soundscapes. So any of the careers that were mentioned earlier in the class. Just one. I need one from each of you. Name one career that uses or creates soundscapes. Yes, that's one correct answer. Thank you, Andrew. Sound designer. You need some help, Zai? You want me to go back to the slide? You still there, Zioni? You want me to go back to the slide? So do you know one career that uses or creates soundscapes? So we talked about specific careers earlier. I'll show you. So just so you make sure you catch it this time. But these are the careers that use or create soundscapes. It is, you are correct. They do use it in movies, but you want to be specific about what career that is. Like just saying it's in movies is kind of vague. So you have sound design, which Andrew got correct. We have film scoring, Foley artist, which if you remember, that's what we talked about last week, where you are making artificial sounds to recreate the sound that is happening in the movie to make it more believable. As well as today, we studied acoustic ecology. And the other thing that we didn't look at, but there's another video here for a soundscape ecology. These are all careers that use or create soundscapes. So you can go back and check those videos out after this course. These will be in Google Classroom. So, do I have any questions about the project or the lesson for today? Okay. So, just so you all know, this video right here that's on the last slide here, his name is Ted Hampton, I think it was his name. He is a soundscape ecologist, and he goes to these random places in the world. Often, I think they quoted them as being the quietest places in the world. But he goes around the world and just records the sounds in these amazing places. It's about 15 minutes. I would highly encourage you to listen with headphones. It's a cool experience to hear the sounds that he records, and you can check them out. So that's just if you feel like getting more into the sound ecology. But if I don't have any more questions about the project or for the lesson from today, I'll be looking forward to hearing your soundscapes on Thursday. All right. See you all later. Bye, Zion. Take care, Andrew.